This conference will now be recorded.
Cheryl Robinson is absent. Dave Rowley.
Present.
Jeff Lord is absent. Tom Romeo.
Here.
Craig Gelsman is absent. Patricia Kennedy is absent. Jeff Joyner.
Here.
Andrew Marietta is virtual. And Jim Seward.
Here. We do not have a quorum. We cannot actually have an official meeting, but we can do an informational meeting, correct? That's correct. You want to just skip right down to new and unfinished business, or do you have projects, other project comments, information?
Well, our treasurer isn't here, so we won't have a report on audit. Tom, you want to say anything about projects?
Yeah, what do you got going on?
Okay.
We have any resolution with Bridgeville Spring? Who's gonna own some sewers, sewer water?
Okay, with respect to that issue, we're recommending, and the Joe Scott sent out revised documents maybe yesterday, that, and Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, but the ownership is going to be we're requesting that the town take ownership of the lines. The big issue with that, from the town's point of view, was they say, well, what if the lines break within the first 2 years or 3 years? Pay for that. And Joe indicated that since it's forming a water and sewer district, nobody's going to use the water or sewer until there's actually a tenant or somebody in that park. So nothing's going to break it. Once somebody buys property and puts up a building as part of the water and sewer districts, they're responsible for paying for any subsequent capital improvements.
The tenant?
The tenant. So in theory, Andela Products, once she builds her building there, if something were to happen in 5 or 6 years, she would be required to pay for the
From
pipes.
before it reaches the property?
Under the town road and under the ownership of the town water and sewer district.
It's with anything within that district, so the district would go right to the town.
Okay, so it's once you leave the town and enter the industrial park, they would be responsible for that.
Right.
No, wait a minute, specifically, because I'm thinking you're saying two different things.
Right, we are.
I want to clarify for sure. I mean, I can understand that they would be responsible, the tenant's responsible once it's within their property line, but from where it's being extended, the extension to the property, how can the tenant who moves in here be responsible for this?
Is that because she's the only user in that?
If they're hopefully there'll be at least 2 users in there.
Who gains income from the water and sewer? Town or city, or town or village?
In theory, both of them can.
Well, I don't hear, for instance, in West End, it's the city handles it. It's a water district in the town owned by the city. They do everything. And because they have the people, they have the technology. You know, to me, I haven't understood why the town should own it. I thought the city or the village would own it because they have a water department.
You're on town, you're on city water and
In the
sewer.
town.
Yeah.
And you know, that, but I guess an agreement so we can move forward on whatever it is, I'm fine. But if I was the town, or I was Andela or somebody going to live there, you can tell me I'm going to own it. What, 2/10 of a mile? What's the extension? How long?
I think it's total of 2,100 feet.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's not much risk. I mean, you lay a pipe in the ground, nothing happens. But still, in all, if I were her, I would take a little exception. It seems because the village gets the most income from it. They're selling water or getting the sewer fees.
Right.
I don't know. I understand they don't have an agreement with the town, and it's a water district because they probably want to extend some sewer water somewhere else if there's any growth at all ever. And I would think the big fight here was the city wanted to do the south side water because of income long term, and they have the people to do it. It was, you know, cost of the water was the problem. Anyway, whatever we get agreement, so everybody says yes.
I think the town is somewhat happy with that result. That ordinance should probably.
So this is the result of the meeting you had with Dan and Cheryl. Yeah.
Now,
And Larry, right?
yes.
Okay.
Now, the other issue is that I did meet on Tuesday with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and wetland issues. And they're strongly recommending avoiding any wetland, period.
Mhm.
And the reason is, they said to replace 1 acre of wetland will cost your agency a minimum of $100,000. Because it has to be built in a certain way.
And it has to be 2 acres, doesn't it? Or is it 1 for 1? It used to be 2 for 1.
It used to be 1 for 1, now it's 3 to 1.
Well, I think avoiding wetlands is always a good idea, whatever you can.
Well,
I'm trying to think so myself.
and this was my,
Wetland mitigation. To kill it.
Yeah.
God, we did a high school project down in Sullivan School District, and we were given 60 acres overlooking a lake called the high school, unfortunately, right in the middle of that was 1 acre wetland, right where the football field or the baseball field was. So we had to move it to mitigate it. The list of plants that we had to plant in the new wetland that we created was 4 pages long. I mean, it was absolutely insane.
so these areas in blue that are here and here and here, that's actually the wetland delineation. So our property is right here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not in the wetland.
Right.
So avoiding the wetlands isn't going to be much of a problem.
Well, what they claim was back in 2007, when this project started, somebody did a new wetland delineation and they showed wetlands in the park. And I'm like, well, I've been out there and it's just dirt fields.
Well, who supposedly did that delineation?
So item number 1 is on engineering.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I gave him a wrong number because Jeff asked me questions on all these and I said, I went out and hired Hunt Engineering to do wetland delineation for about $4,000. It's actually $4,600. They'll have it done by next week. And DEC, then once they get that, they want to meet with Hunt Engineers at the site and walk. So we're hoping that that will clear up the issue.
And what is that holding up at the moment? We can't do bids?
We've gone out.
We can't.
That's why we awarded to Angel construction bids. What happened was I went through after the awards and I said, let me see where it was, they were high and where they were low versus on the engineer's estimates. When I went through that, I said, our engineer's estimate had wetland restoration. But Angel didn't bid on it. And apparently in the bid documents that Keystone sent out, they did not put wetland restorations in.
As it turns out, there is going to be no wetlands.
Well, we don't know that yet. Next week. Now, DEC said that's probably a good thing that you don't have Angelo do the wetland delineation because they're probably not good at doing wetlands. So they recommend that we would do that as a separate bid as we go out.
That makes sense to me. It's a specialized deal, sure.
So that's where we are in that one.
So once that's cleared up with funds, because we already cleared up the situation with the ownership, we're really ready to go.
Yeah. But I'm sure, I'm still anticipating that they'll find some wetlands and the issue is they're working off of a old site plan that was developed. And what they're saying is that you have to show an area where the buildings are going to be built. And I'm arguing with DEC, but we don't know if Andela is going to build those buildings. I mean, she may not be able to get financing. So why would we show buildings? We're just putting in water, sewer, and roadway improvements. And they said, well, that's segmenting your project then by taking out any future building development. And you can't do that under state deeds, under state secret environmental review law. They said what you can do is you can rearrange your parking lots in your building so that it doesn't touch anybody.
That's right. Which is what everybody does.
Yeah. I'm like, fine. So hopefully by next week, we'll have some answers.
So the goal is, if you sell these property, the new owner of the property that's interested in building structure is responsible if they have to mitigate wetlands, not us. That's the point. So there's no mitigation needed until somebody actually says, I want to go, and they could avoid the wetlands altogether.
Right, and what we would do is somebody's interested in purchasing it, we'd show them the wetland delineation that we have and say, these are the areas.
Presumably their engineer would design a building that fit wherever in usable space and avoid all this and life goes on. But we don't know the answers until we get to the next step. We can't get to the next step until we have sewer and water, gas,
You're the chicken and the egg.
I've said this now for 3 years, and I'm so sick of this project. I know.
Well, people in the county have been frustrated over for what, 20? I mean, it's been
But that's been a long time.
Pretty much going to be a done deal, buddy. So
But the engineering work, I mean, aren't they just building on what Keystone had done earlier? I mean, nothing's happened at the property.
Right.
No changes really.
And when I talked to Keystone, I was so upset 2 Fridays ago about this whole thing. Down, I met with Keystone, and I said, how could you not put this in? And they said, well, we made a mistake. And I said, what?
you never mean.
When you did the original wetland delineation, and they said, well, we never did the wetland delineation. That was done by another town. I'm like, well, who's the other town? They couldn't.
Yeah, just as a sidebar, I ran into Cindy and Nella funeral last Saturday, and she's full
Ready
steam
to go,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, John.
every indication. I didn't talk to her bankers, but she is full steam ahead, and she's got ideas for other products, and she's talking about another. Did she ever mention to you another business park up there? I said, Cindy, let's get this one done first.
Yes, and
we'll move on.
John Hammer, we got that with her, he helped her fill out.
Yeah, she mentioned, yeah. So they've connected, and I think that'll hopefully get that clock ticking. The DSC.
Okay, so before we move on further, since we have a quorum, can we quickly go back and approve minutes and bills?
It's very important.
Well, finally, let's call the code board meeting to order. It's a little 9:15, or excuse me, 8:15. Can we do roll call again for the record?
Cheryl Robinson is absent. David Rowley.
Here.
Jeff Lord is absent. Tom Romeo.
here.
Craig Gelson.
Here.
Patricia Kennedy is absent. Jeff Joyner.
Here.
Andrew Marietta is virtual, and Jim Stewart.
Here,
Do we, anyone have any questions of the meeting minutes that were sent out? If not, then
Motion to approve.
second. All in favor?
all right.
We have, is there anything in the report with the audit and finance committee? Jeff's not here. Nope. Any minutes to approve there or not? I don't think so. Building communications, pretty straightforward, not much there. Anything you want to add, Jody?
Well, we did, since she did that report, we'll talk about it at the end, but we can talk about it now. We did receive a direct wire transfer from ESD that is not reflected in the income. That's sort of like $146,000. Or we had a submitted request for reimbursement for the work that we did on the rail yard, environmental studies, the secret reviews. The grant was for $150,000. Unfortunately, the previous administration started the project before the contracts were awarded. And so they disallowed the payment. So instead of 150, we got 146. But since we can't find the contracts, either us or the engineering firm, I'm really happy they reimbursed us. Yes, because they could have said,
Yeah, that's close to full reimbursement.
and I give Megan a lot of the credit for that project. That really put together a lot of time in trying to get the documentation to them.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Report of the projects committee, anything new, Tom?
No, we're just, we're getting updated on Richfield Springs, and you have, anything else going on, is it Jody?
Yeah.
It is, okay.
I've been spending too much time on this, and that's why I kind of
Well,
wish.
projects, that's what we're all about, get stuff done.
Foothills Performing Arts Center. Again, since Cheryl wasn't here and Jeff Ward wasn't here, I'll give you their response to this. I sent an email to Foothills and they agreed to this, that starting June 1st, they would pay us $1,667.67 per month for the next 5 years for a total of $100,000. Cheryl was in agreement, said that's a fair settlement. Jeff Ward said we should have demanded $50,000 in cash and then a payment. I'm like, I don't think they have $50,000. They're actually going to start paying on the SBA loan. So that's what's going on right now. So they've agreed that they owe us the money that they wanted to pay it off in 5 years.
I think it's a win.
Any other comments? I think it's perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely.
Under the circumstances.
Realism, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go out and say, we're going to foreclose on the community.
Yeah, really great picture.
And it sets a precedent that we don't, we don't just write things off.
Yeah, they got guys on
Yeah.
They're trying.
it. Trying like crazy.
You honored them last night.
Yeah, chamber out.
Yeah, and I said, when I was negotiating, I said, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be at your award thing, but I've got to be in Cooperstown for the parks.
That's,
But
Well,
that ends that discussion.
no, that would be the goal of 100 now.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's better than half, I think half right now. I mean,
Yep.
What'd you
Well,
say?
they can do too. We can get this done.
the full amount rather than
and
taking
the reason
half.
I-
Yeah.
the reason I looked at it, they have
You have to wait 5 years,
They
you've
have
been waiting
somewhat of a
a
new
long time.
board,
They've got a new board president, and they've got a lot of new board.
and they're willing to work with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think it's.
Tell me about Seco Micro
Does
Enterprise
that
Grant.
require a vote or anything? I mean, approval or just?
No, I know.
Okay.
Micro enterprise grant.
Excuse me, going back to Foothills, could I suggest any modifications to the terms be evidenced by a written, either a note, modification to the note or a new note, however you want to set it up? Probably a modification to the existing note.
Makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
They have something.
I'll sit down with you on that. Thank you. Micro enterprise, Megan worked on doing a new micro enterprise grant application to the New York State Office of Community Renewal. Instead of 200,000, she requested $300,000. We found out on Monday it was approved by the state. David Bliss is signing contracts. We'll be administering that on behalf of the county. And it's really a positive thing. 50% of the money is going to go to farm-related businesses, and the other 50% are going to go to whatever Tammy says this business deserves. Funding on, that will be a committee that'll look at it. But
The max of 35,000.
a maximum of up to 35,000. We've changed it a little bit since Megan's had experience running the first one. There's certain things we don't want to do anymore because it's just too cumbersome. Like paying for people's salaries, because that can drag on for 2 or 3 years. And it's just, but anyway, that is a new one. We're pleased that the county's asking us to administer it again because, as you may recall, when I first came here, the county says you're not a county agency. We don't want you to get involved. We're not asking us to do the administration.
So the applications go through the county?
Yes. Yeah, the IDA technically cannot apply for these grants. We can write the grant applications, but in the case of Ioxis or Custom Electronics, it was actually the town that got the award. We administered it on their behalf Cooperstown was the village who got the award. We administered it. We get a very small fee, usually about $5,000 to administer it. But actually, ones like Custom Electronics and Cooperstown, they're so easy to administer. We do make money on them. On the micro enterprise, it's a little more difficult, but we'll still make some money on it.
Planning department.
Yeah, I did it when I was at the county. I just wanted to make, we're not doing any, there's no involvement here, just because it's time consuming.
Yeah. Letters to taxing jurisdictions, as everybody remembers, we had a discussion that we are getting a lot of solar energy requests, and we have a couple of wind turbine requests coming into the county right now. Right now, there's a section 487 of the tax law that says all of these energy projects are exempt from local taxes unless they opt out, town, the village, the school district, or the county. And in our county, most of them didn't know what this was and nobody opted out. So the county asked us if we would send a letter to all the taxing jurisdictions explaining the issues and asking everybody to opt out of this, so that the county and the school districts can receive either full taxes on these improvements that are being made, or they would be required to enter into a payment of tax agreement with the IDA to lower their tax. So that's what we did. That let it out this week.
So why did the county ask us to do that?
Because,
We would administer the fire.
yeah, the county really,
Doesn't mean anything, I don't think. It's their jurisdiction to opt in or out, not us. I'm just wondering why we put out the letter here.
because the county really, they now understand the issue, but we have a much more experience in doing and explaining pilot agreements to various towns and villages and schools, where the county really doesn't. That's why the county wants us to take over all pilots. They don't really understand how they work. So they asked if we could.
So they voted to opt out.
They haven't, they will.
They will. So they voted to opt out. So the letter would just say, since the county's opted out of the,
Right.
and it's just semantic, it's wording,
Yes,
right?
and cost us.
The way you put it was, we decided, am I wrong? The way you put it, we decided, which we didn't, they had to decide.
They have
The vote's on.
Right.
The county.
I think it's just making them aware.
Right, we're
Of what's
making
at
it
risk.
clear that they're losing money, and that if they want to not lose money, they should opt out of this program. And then we gave them mechanisms that we gave them examples of the laws that they would have to adopt, municipal level, and a resolution at the school district level. So that was our involvement with that.
These new siting regulations, I don't think we're gonna have a project big enough, I think it's 25 megawatts, if I'm not mistaken. Once you get over there, the state is in complete control. There are no local, they
No zoning or anything.
they supersede all local regulations. So if the projects, they want the project to go through, it doesn't matter what towns, villages, cities say, it goes through.
Right, the only thing that the town, the village, and the county school do is they can say we're opting out of 47.
Right.
And, but you can still, we have no jurisdiction whether you build it or not.
Right.
That's correct. So the last thing is, when we look at Zaid Properties, Centrum, and the ESD reimbursement, this year alone, we've received about $266,000 in unanticipated revenues into our budget. So it's been a good 6 months for agency.
Any questions?
And Tammy, you want to call and say what you're working on?
So I'm keeping up with the project and client list that evolved when Gina was here. And since we've gotten a really good invention idea through our marketing campaign that uses the LinkedIn platform just this week. So I'll be talking with Mike and Chad. I'm seeing Mike today, and I'm gonna start working with them to figure out a more formal and consistent framework in which we all communicate, whether it be on a weekly basis, so that they know what I'm got going on, and so that we can keep our synergy. So I think I've got 6 or 7 different people. I've got different things going on, helping them with marketing, market research. Have an intern starting on Tuesday. She'll be putting in as much as 30 hours a week. She's a Hartwick college student from Worcester. Very, very impressed right now in terms of her resume and her portfolio samples and her interpersonal communication and maturity via email and phone. So really looking forward to that. You have a professional conference coming up in Binghamton, as you'll see on the bill, and that is a conference of all the incubators and innovation centers in New York State. So that will be a really good experience for me. I met with Appalachian Regional Commission representative last week, so I now know how to do our next report for the Innovation Center's grant funding. And she was very excited about how our Innovation Acceleration Center can really be the landing place for overflow that's coming through the Kauffman Center and all of the funding they've gotten for clean tech. So she's really excited about the niche that we can fill there. So a lot of good energy. And I'll be making a concerted effort to get out the promotion on social media about our micro enterprise funding application timeframe being open. Megan came in on Tuesday, and Nassim, Megan, and I got together, and there was a pre-application process. So Nassim is going to be letting all of those pre-applicants know that the official application process is open now until July 30th. So they'll have 2 months to get the actual application. Right now, there's already a link. Go to our homepage and you can access the documents of the application and a very concise, brief explanation of the grant program.
What is the logic for the pre-application and application? Is that for the pre-application, you can determine, the determination can be made if it's even would be eligible?
Right, we can see go to my notes here, because I was first exposed to micro when Jody and I worked together in Schoharie County. So I had to bring myself up. So it is for small businesses that are either the owners fall into the low to moderate income levels that our county falls in, or they're hiring individuals whose household income fall into those low to moderate income parameters. And they have 5 or fewer employees, which has to include owners. So if a husband and wife own a company and this project's gonna have them now have 4 employees, well, that's 6. So that excludes them from eligibility. So having the pre-application, it's job creation only. For a time it used to include retention, but it's just job creation. And the max award from our funding is $35,000. And Megan, what was the minimum that she was in? Do you remember? I remember in our print documents, we have a minimum.
Probably 10.
Yeah, just so that, you know, we don't need to be bogged down with $500,000.
I remember being 5.
Maybe it is.
The other purpose of the pre-app And probably the main reason was we wanted to get an idea of how much interest there was in this program to show the state that
Oh,
we had
right.
potential people. So that the state didn't say, why are we gonna give you 300,000 if we don't know there's a need? So it documented the need.
Any discussion, update with the Harvard program? Is it Mike Walsh?
Yeah.
And if they're gonna be located in this new artist loft building, were they not at one point in time?
Yes, their Grain Innovation Center.
Right.
They've kind of shifted since we didn't give them this grant, the ARC grant. They basically have said that in order to receive help from Hartwick, you have to enroll at one. You just can't be a general entrepreneur on the street.
You have to roll in a program?
Yeah,
Okay.
so at some point in time, we'll touch base on it again.
Yeah.
It just, I don't think they have all of their thoughts well laid out.
Do we have any, does anybody know anything about if that is gonna actually open up sometime in the near future?
My guess is yes.
Sometime.
You're talking on the near, so I'm going with just the future.
They received,
No date.
I don't know if it's near.
they have to open it up. They received $150,000 Appalachian Regional Commission grant for equipment in that building.
Or,
Yes.
Right.
That was an award like 3 years ago. And occasionally I get questions as to what's going on there from ARC and Southern Tier 8, since they were, I'm like, I don't know, talk to them. And I don't want to get in the middle between what you funded and what they're doing.
yeah, no, my question, it's just strictly about facility, it's not about that program.
Yeah, and they actually have two other areas on campus that one is an innovation center and the other is, it seems like it's disjointed. They don't-
Yeah, well, he's relatively new. He's not been there. Okay, just a question. We don't appear to have any public on, so we'll skip public comments. No need for executive session, or is there? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moving to the OCCRC board agenda, can we do roll call, please?
Joe Robinson is absent. Dave Rowley.
Here,
Jeff Lord is absent. Palmer Mayo.
Here.
Craig Gelson.
Here.
Tricia Kennedy is absent. Jeff Joyner.
here,
Andrew Marietta is virtual, and Jim Stewart.
here. We will forego Cheryl's remarks. Any question about the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any new unfinished business? I'm assuming we have no need for an executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
I don't even think 30 seconds.
Perfect.
Yeah.